what is going on? And I remember saying to Kev, what if I get eaten by a shark? And he was like, no, mate, there's no sharks out here. And,
Yeah.
and I said, how do you know? Nobody's ever done this before. And he's like, yeah, you're right. There's definitely no sharks out here, sort of thing. So it's that. And then it's just the doubt as well. And it's just having someone there to say, do you know what? You can do this. And it's that self-doubt. When you do hit the wall, you have that self-doubt thinking, do you know what? I can't do that. And you just need that little bit of a boost, because sometimes you can't do it yourself.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Trauma Training Transformation. I'm Dr. James Alder, and today we're going to look at endurance and how that can link into resilience and identity. Today, welcome a very good friend, Adam Diver. He's a military veteran, endurance athlete, and the first person to ever swim from England to the Isle of Man. A big impact on that endurance impacted his resilience. First of all, Adam, thank you very much for joining us today. To give a little bit of background about yourself.
Yeah, no. First of all, thanks for having me, and it's great to get back in touch with you after being so long apart. I would say a good maybe 15, 20 years or something like that. We used to work together. So a little bit about myself. I joined the army as a young lad at 16. I think it was around about 1992. And then from there, just progressed through the ranks, travelled the world. I've been to Afghanistan a couple of times, Iraq, Northern Ireland, Bosnia, and also as well, with me travelling around, I also climbed through the ranks as well. From private soldier, I got to Garrison Sergeant Major. I was Garrison Sergeant Major at Warminster Garrison, which is an amazing place. And then from there, I also commissioned. So I then became a welfare officer, and also as well a regimental careers officer, and also an OC of a training camp sort of team at Catterick. So yeah, I've been out now around about 4.5 years. So it's been a long process, my journey through the military, and then moving into Civvy Street, and then coordinating everything from family life, finding work, understanding where I am in Civvy Street, because it is a whole different ball game for any of the vets who are listening. And then, yeah, we can talk about my struggles, my things that I've found out about, what I can then pass on to people who are maybe leaving the military, but also as well, information that are vets out there listening who are maybe struggling or needing help or wanting to find some sort of advice or direction. Yeah.
That's great, mate. And congratulations on your military career. It goes without saying, being in the military is a challenge within itself, but to go through the ranks like you did is a great achievement. So congratulations and well done on that and everything that you achieved during your service. You talked about the transition from coming out of the military into civilian life, the challenges that you faced with that. So when you left the military, what did identity mean to you at the time, and what does it feel like now? Have you seen any, obviously, changes? And how did the rebuilding start once you left without the uniform?
Yeah, so I transitioned to become an officer, which is completely different than being a soldier, and had a couple of jobs. And then I was just like, okay, then am I going to do this for the next 10, 15 years, move around with my wife? I've got a couple of children who were starting school. So I had to make a decision then, do I stay or do I go? So I made the decision to leave the army. And one of the things is that I was posted near where I lived. So it was great for me to go home at night in maybe, I don't know, look for work, incorporate myself in different clubs with different people, and then trying to get myself settled before I actually, let's say, jump ship into Civvy Street. Now, I thought it was going to be easy. I thought to myself, right, I'm leaving as a captain. I've been told about all my qualities that you've got while you're in the army. You've got your leadership, you've got your management skills. You've got everything that is transferable to Civvy Street. So I was going into Civvy Street thinking, right, okay, then this should be, I won't say a doddle, but it should be okay. I've also got qualifications. I went to university, I got myself an MBA, and also as well, I've done health and safety with British Safety Council, etc. So I had a rucksack full of qualifications and ideas going into it. However, going into Civvy Street is like a minefield for veteran, because you've had all that years of telling you, okay, you can do X, Y, and Z when you get out there. But when you do get out there, you are faced with, I don't know, 20, 30 people going for the same job. maybe they're going for that job and they've got more experience in there. So it then becomes quite difficult to then find actual work that you can excel in. So I did find it a bit of a struggle. I was quite lucky. I went in straight into teaching at a local college. A friend of mine was the manager there, and he said, right, okay, have you got any teaching qualifications? Which I did. And he said, well, do you want to teach health and safety? Not the greatest subject, to be fair, but it gave me a little bit of a, right, okay, steady the ship while I just control my life. So that was pretty good for me. And I did that for around about 8 months while I just found my feet. Now, I did lose that little bit of like, who am I sort of thing, that, like you just said that then, James, about the identity. I was something walking around with a pay stick as Garrison Sergeant Major, telling people to get off the grass, and you know what I mean, doing duties on a Monday morning and telling people off, which was great. And then being an officer of, you know what I mean, quite high stature, and then going into Civvy Street where you are not going to say bottom of the rung, but you are. And it is a bit of a struggle, and it is a bit of a like, okay, then let's try and control this and understand where I am. And that takes a little bit of time. And still, 4.5, 5 years down the line, I'm still trying to find my feet. So finding my identity brought me on to swimming to the Alamo. Big hit not long after. My background is a bit of a swimmer, and my son's a bit of a swimmer as well. And we were swimming in the sea at the time, and my family lived in the Alamo. And then one day, my son Dexter just said, you know, we can see the Isle of Man. Do you think we could swim to the Isle of Man to see Nan and Grandad? And it was from there, then the seed was planted to think, right, okay, then I can do something here that's not bigger than the army, but it will, you know what I mean, drive me. It will give me that, let's say, that journey, that inspiration, and that drive to do something that's pretty special. So I did my research. Nobody's ever swam to the Isle of Man before for numerous reasons. The Irish Sea is just pretty horrendous. The weather changes on a flip of a coin. It's quite polluted in certain areas. It's never been navigated that way, unlike the Channel crossing from Dover to Calais. So it was a whole different ball game. So that was probably me finding my identity and finding myself in Civvy Street while I calmed things down. My wife and obviously my friends thought I was completely balmy and completely crazy doing it. But with my army training, which was fantastic, it did instill that, right, I can do this. I can do all the administration for it. I can check things out. I can make sure that I am safe in certain areas, and then I found a team that could help me. So that was basically my steadying the ship into Civvy Street, which I know a lot of people won't be able to do that. So finding something when you leave the forces that interests you, and it can then propel you forward to make you happy, if you will, because when you do leave the forces, you do lose that brotherhood, that friendship is gone, and sort of like the discipline as well, getting up at a certain time, making sure that you're on parade at a certain time, which you do in Civvy Street. You've got to make sure that you turn up for work, but it's slightly different, and that's what it was, James. That's what gave me my identity to move forward, was probably the swim.
And that's great, mate. I mean, a lot of veterans, I speak to many with my studies, is they find that transition of leaving very difficult because you lose that day-to-day structure and routine. You seem to have transitioned into your drive, really, especially when it comes to your endurance and the swimming challenge. And I'd like to talk about them in a little bit more detail when we come up to that, if that's okay. But what I find really intriguing, though, is even though you knew you were leaving, the soldier in you knew that there has to be a tomorrow, a new view. And thankfully, with some connections, you got into college and be able to deliver as a teacher, which is amazing, mate. But once you started in that role, did you notice any part of your structure and your routine that you had in the military? You started to lose that, and then you found that a different version of you had to carry on.
Yeah, I had to just rebuild myself, really. I really did, and you have to tread carefully when you do leave the forces into Civvy Street. It is a bit of a strange one, and it took me a few little hiccups within certain things that really had to take a step back, like having, let's say, squaddy banter. You can't do that in Civvy Street. It's never going to last. You're going to lose your job probably instantly. And every veteran listening to me now can probably say, right, okay, I understand that. And also as well, you got to step back a little bit because people work differently, I've found. And I've got Prime example of that. I must have been in the job teaching for around about 6 or 7 weeks. And one of the other teachers sent an email out to me and a lot of other people about a job I've just done. So basically, the manager came up to me and asked me to do a task. He said, "Can you get in touch with these people? Can you sort this out?" Blah, blah, all the rest of it. And it was quite a simple task. Well, for somebody who's just been in the military, it was quite a simple task. So anyway, I completed this task, but this task was for somebody else, but this person was away. Anyway, so he found out that I'd done this task and then sent an email out to everyone saying, "Why has this basic new guy done this? This is my job," and CC'd everyone into it. And the guy he was in the next office. And I just thought to myself, well, this isn't right. Why has he done this and all the rest of it? So I went into his office and just basically just give him a little bit of I won't say a talking to, just briefed him up a little bit. Why have you done this? Why have you done that? Why don't you just come next door and talk to me? And it was nothing for me to do that, and I didn't think anything of it. Within about half an hour, I was up to the manager's office saying that I can't approach people to tell them that they shouldn't be sending me emails and all the rest of it. And it was that sort of thing where I was like, right, okay, then. Well, I wouldn't even think twice about doing that in the army. And that was my first taste of Civvy Street, where things are done slightly different, and you can't do things that you would in the military. And it's that sort of thing that you don't get taught when you're leaving the military. You don't get told, how to maneuver around certain people, certain companies, whatever it may be. They don't tell you how to do that approach. Because if you leave as any rank, you could be a private soldier. You've been taught primary how to kill people. That's your sole job. That is your primary function. You don't get untold to do that.
Yeah.
And you've been through your training. You've been through years maybe of being at a unit. But when you get out, you don't unravel that. They don't unpick it. And that's the bit that you have to navigate. And that's the bit where you need to have a little bit of okay, then I need to square this a little bit differently. And that takes time. And I'm still learning now. And I don't think I'll ever, be, 100% on it. Every day is a learning curve in Civvy Street. And you're always actually thinking, all right, okay, then I could probably done that a little bit different. And I can probably do that a little bit different as well. So it's always a learning curve.
Yeah, no, I totally get that, mate, completely. Our careers have been very similar since that we both served in the Queen's Lancashire Regiment and the Duke of Lancs, but we also have the same experience of once you leave that big family environment, something that you've been in for over 20 years, you miss a big chunk of yourself, identity, purpose, the family ethos. But we also didn't really leave and then stay connected. We feel like we're missing something. Some people might say missing a limb because, you leave and then you're forgotten about. And we're not on our own. We probably echo this of many veterans who have left the army and then are just completely ignored or forgotten about. That's probably one of the reasons why we see a lot of veterans who are homeless or even in prisons because they've been left with a need to be a part of something. I know you're doing a lot of work on this, speaking to various agencies to try and get the recognition of this issue. Do you want to touch on that now before we talk about anything else?
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up, James. So the people obviously don't know my background. I went as a teacher and then did that, like I say, for around about 8-9 months, etc., and then moved to the NHS. I went back to university. And I'm now a therapist, a mental health therapist, looking after civilians and military alike with depression, anxiety, PTSD, pretty much all your common mental health issues. Now, I see military all the time on my books on a weekly basis, and I've been doing this job now for around about 3 years. When I left the forces, and probably the vets who are listening to this now, I never got contacted by my unit, not one phone call. How are you doing, Mr. Diver? Are you linked into a job? Where you're living? Have you registered with the NHS? Basically, just that welfare call, and I never got it. And other people do. People leave prisons and get welfare checks, but there's nothing set up for the military. Now, I did a poll on social media about 2.5 years ago to find out who had been contacted by their unit when they left or by the military official. And only 4 people out of the thousands of people had told me that they'd been contacted. Were they contacted by a friend or was it from let's say the commanding officer checking up? The probability of that, which I think it was maybe a friend of higher rank saying, "How are you doing, Mr. Smith? How's it going?" So that's So pretty much 99% of the people that have done the poll who I've spoken to, and all my patients have never been contacted by the military, by the parent unit or by anyone. Now that's not to say there's nothing out there, because there is, because I deal with Op Courage, which is the mental health program for veterans. There's now Op Valor, which is a 20 million project started by, I think it was the Conservatives, now just rolled out by Labour Party, which pretty much pushes everything together. You've got Fortitude, which is housing. You've got over 1,000 military charities, and I'm involved in one of them charities and one of the directors of. And there's loads of individuals as well. There's loads of Facebook posts, groups that are going on, the individuals that I see on a daily basis, veterans who are pooling things together, trying the best. So there's a lot of stuff out there. Now, what there isn't is this missing link. And the missing link is a welfare check. Because all the people I see and all the vets that are housed in accommodation, let's say for Healthy Heroes, who go to the RBL for help, they get to the point where they get picked up by the service, and then it's too late. Because what happens is, and you'll know this, James, is that we are trained to work alone, to be efficient, not ask for help, basically to stand tall and try and crack on and do your best you can, all right, and not show that weakness. And that's what it is. It's getting to that point where some of them, a lot of the veterans that I deal with, or all of them, they just haven't made that call. We can't make that call. So that I want the MOD to take responsibility and say, right, okay, we have trained you. We have done this for the last, even if you need to do basic training for the last 20 odd weeks or the years. All right. We owe it to you. All right. To say, right, okay, then how are you doing, Mr. Smith? Have you linked in with your local services, NHS? Have you got a job, where you living, etc.? And tell you the information around your area to say, well, this is the help you've got. This is what you can do. Do you want me to make that step for you? And have that chat with that veteran. And that's what I'm pushing for. And I've been pushing it for since basically, I think it's around about 2.5, 3 years now. I've been to government under the Conservative Party to talk to them. I went to Parliament and talked to around about 25 MPs with a veteran who's got PTSD, another veteran who lost his son to suicide, and an NHS worker to tell basically the NHS how the government could save so much money if they implemented this check. And we stayed about 2.5, 3 hours talking to all the MPs, and it was going pretty well. And then it all died off. Government's changed. And I'm trying to be in talks with the new government at the moment. Yeah, it's stalling. I'm sending emails, getting some emails back. So I'm getting a little bit of correspondence. But a welfare check wouldn't be the golden bullet. It wouldn't solve everything, but it would help the people who are struggling, because you have this period of when you leave the forces, this golden period, this honeymoon period of around about 6 months to a year, where you're happy to leave because you know what I mean. You've left because there's a reason. All right, whatever it is, you've had enough. So you go into Civvy Street and you're like, right, okay, I'm good to go. I've got a bit of cash in my pocket. I'm happy to leave the forces, because you mustn't have been happy, because you would have just stayed in. Yeah. And then you're leaving into Civvy Street. And it's at that period of around about 6 months to a year, then things start to dip. You're navigating family, friends, work, finances, and then things start to maybe unravel. You then maybe get into drugs, because you know what I mean. You can start doing things that you've not done in the forces, which I've seen a lot of the times with my patients. You start maybe drinking more. And you get into that period there where you might just need that little bit of help, and that's where the welfare call should come in. So that's what I'm pushing for at the moment, and I'll still push for it until something sticks, really. So I'm hoping up, you know what I mean, we can talk with this new government or whoever gets in next. I'll just keep pushing it. I've got a small team, all veterans. If anyone listening here wants to get in touch and get involved in my team, all right, then you can start helping us out and pushing this narrative. And that's what we're going to try. That's what we're trying to do. Just to try and get this welfare check in place.
And that's a great, mate. I mean, the more voices, the better. I think we've all got a very similar story to tell in that respect. You know, the loss of identity from leaving, the army, but also the family that you've been a part of. One of the purpose of me doing this podcast, I suffer with PTSD and always wanted to find more therapeutic methods, holistic methods to try and help me, because the telltale prescribed medication and counselling had run its course and wasn't doing the job that it should be. We need voices like yours to also push the narrative and the voice and support for mental health. concerns
Yeah.
regarding veterans, because it's also an echo chamber that we can speak to, but we need more people to get on board and support that. We mentioned a friend of ours who set up a charity. Healthy Heroes and Combat Stress have done a lot for me. Even though the government should do its role, we're still relying on the charity of people also taking the bull by the horns and establishing a charity to support veterans. Can you just touch on a little bit
Yeah.
on the charity that you're director on, please, and just give the name of it and what it's about?
Yeah. So I'm one of the directors of Healthy Heroes, and it was set up by a friend of ours called Andy Powell, who served with us in Afghanistan and Iraq, and his lovely wife Rio. So they set up in Burnley around about the same time I left. I left the army, and I set up my own triathlon club. So I'm a triathlete, and I wanted to start up a club that was free and also as well that was inclusive to all the people around. So I set up this club, and I thought, oh well, I'll speak to Andy, see what he's up to, and he started Healthy Heroes. And he said, well, you know what I mean? I can sponsor you sort of thing. If you get some t-shirts, you can put our logo on there. You can do us a favour and all the rest of it. So that's
Yeah.
how it all started with me and Andy. Now, what they've done in Burnley is amazing. And now they've got three locations now. But they've got Bancroft House in Burnley and the other two locations, which are pretty new. One's just come online around about 3 or 4 weeks ago now. And they house veterans who have poor mental health. They might have drug and alcohol issues or had drug and alcohol issues. They may be homeless. They may be just down on their luck at that moment in time. And I've referred people from my service, the veterans who've come to me who are homeless, to Andy's project, Healthy Heroes. And what he does, he looks after them. There's counsellors there, there's therapists there, and there is a difference obviously between a counselling and therapy. They've got them there. They've got a gym there. They have all the meals, and just go online. If you're listening to this, just go online, put Healthy Heroes. You'll get a full rundown of the picture and the scale of the project. What they're doing is pretty much unmatched, I would say. And I think a lot of people around the UK may be starting to mirror this in certain areas of the UK. And they are doing a fantastic job. The amount of people that they provide help for and then move on into civilian life, again, is amazing, with like a purpose and also as well. And they've got that focus and drive that they had in the forces. They've had people leaving Bancroft House, starting their own business up. So it's amazing. They've gone from being not great for whatever reason with the mental health, maybe drug and alcohol, to actually going to the point where actually they've got qualifications and they're moving on with their life in a massively positive manner. So they are pretty amazing. And it is an amazing charity, and I'm happy to and proud to be part of that journey, just in a small way. They are the people at the coalface every single day, and they're really looking after the troops there, male and female as well. They take Navy, Army, RAF, so they take all veterans. I went away only last month, 2 months ago, to the Isle of Man. I took two of the lads who are staying at Bancroft House, and they're coming to the end of their term, and they're going out into Civvy Street in maybe in the next 4 to 6 weeks. Took them to the Isle of Man to liaise with another charity that I'm involved in a small kind of way, called Heroes on the Water. And this is a small charity in the Isle of Man that looks after veterans, again, with poor mental health, and they take them on the seas of the Isle of Man in kayaks, paddle boards, etc. And they have days out on the beach, and they've got brilliant accommodation. Or the base is actually on the beach at a place called Port Sodra in the Isle of Man, and they're called Heroes on the Water. So we're trying to join forces, if you will, and have that connection with the Isle of Man, and my connection with the Isle of Man is huge. So yeah, so that's my part. As being a director, I just look at certain policies, procedures, headlines, and then just get involved where I can. Them two and the rest of the team are brilliant as well. They've got quite a big army of people, and they're recruiting all the time. I think I spoke to Andy about a week ago, and I think he was doing 12 interviewing people for his new project. So they are looking for staff, not just veterans, just people who can work for him, who have got a good heart and who want to help the veteran community. So yeah, it's a great charity to be involved in.
No, I agree. I completely echo everything you said. I think Andy and Rio at LP Heroes are doing an incredible job. Then with the staff, he's almost got a platoon of people helping him out. And I think he echoes the military ethos, you know, having a vision, a purpose, and the drive to fulfill it. And it's great. Anyone who's listening in relation to both those charities, if you want to support them, please reach out. Hey, real quick, if you're enjoying the episode content, hit subscribe, leave a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. It only takes 10 seconds and really helps to grow my podcast. Any support would be a great benefit to them. They can only just expand on what they're doing and supporting a great group of people who need their help. Yeah. You touched on there about being a triathlete and the triathlons that you do and the training that is involved in that, really. You become an endurance athlete, and endurance seems to be part of your journey now. So endurance for me defines you as a person, so to speak. What was it about endurance that challenges you? Was it the structure? Was it solitude, like operating on your own again, as we touched earlier on, the focus? Or was it something deeper that made you be an endurance athlete?
I think it's something deeper, probably. I left the forces because of family, but also as well, quite a bit of different pressure. My mental health wasn't great. I was forward thinking, can I do this? You know what I mean? For the next 15 years. And I just wasn't brilliant in myself. And I made that decision to leave. And fitness was part of my journey to help me with mental health. So I used to go for long runs, as you would in the army anyway, with your backpack on. But I also used to swim quite a lot, but also go on my bike and go off and do maybe 50, 60 miles on my push bike, being in my own little brain, trying to figure things out. So endurance was probably something to help me with my mental health. And then I started to get good at it. And then also I put all the 3 disciplines together. You've got your bike and your run as a triathlete. And then I found out that I was pretty good at it. So I started to do local competitions. I did them in the army a little bit. I had a couple of bosses throughout the years who were decent cyclists and swimmers and runners. And we used to do a lot of training. And obviously, you know a lot about the training in the army, Jen. So then I just put it together. So I started to do local competitions, found out I was doing pretty good at it. And then I did a competition in Southport, probably around about when I just got out, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And I was sat in Kentucky Fried Chicken, which is not ideal after you've just finished a triathlete. There was about 4 lads next to me, and they were all checking on the phone the stats and where they are. And so I asked them, I said, "Oh, what are you doing?" And said, "Oh, we're checking if we've made the cut off for the Great Britain team." And I was like, "Right, okay, then can I have a look at this?" And I wouldn't say they were off-putting or they were poo-pooing me. But they weren't great at just having that little bit of a chat. I don't know if it was me being a bit forceful, tell me what's going on, sort of thing. But they pretty much chinned me off. And I was like, right, okay, then if they can do it, then I can do this. So I started doing my own research and started thinking, right, okay, then how do I get onto the GB team? Looked up, got all my times for my disciplines, and then started to train for it. And I started to do competitions, and it took me about 7 times to try and get onto the team. And every time I tried and I was like just missing on something, I was like, right, I need to adapt my swimming stroke. I need to adapt my pedal stroke. I need to look at my running technique. I need to look at my training. I need to look at my nutrition. And every time I tried, I was getting closer and closer and closer. And then I can't remember what year it was, but it was in November. And my son was doing an after-school sport. And I got a notification on my phone that I was going to get a phone call tomorrow off Great Britain Triathlon administration team. I spoke to them and got the email through that I was on the team for that year. So you have to qualify every single year. So I went to Valencia and I went there for my first competition. And then from there, I just started to build up then my love for the sport, really, and then also progressing in each discipline to making myself better every single year and making myself stronger to become a better GB athlete. So I've represented GB now on four occasions. I've had the call around about 6 or 7 times, but I couldn't represent them on 3 times due to family being away. I should have been in Australia this October for my birthday. I was 50 on the 20th of October, but I got injured, fell off my bike, and I seriously injured myself. So I'm recovering from a serious injury at the moment, which I'm getting there. So I should be back on the bike within in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, my progression into endurance was basically from that. It was part of my mental health, to a bit of therapy for myself. But then I thought to myself, well, I'm pretty good at this. So I'll keep going. And if I don't do some sort of training as well, I do feel like I do become a little bit, I won't say there is a massive difference between depression and low mood. I would say my low mood starts to creep in a little bit. And if that low mood carries on, for what I know as a therapist, it can lead into depression.
Yeah.
So for my own personal therapy, I make sure that I train on most days. Like I can't cycle at the moment because of my leg, but I can do sit-ups and I can do push-ups.
Yeah.
And I also can do a little bit of swimming. So I always keep myself ticking over in certain aspects, and that is for me physical, to keep myself physically fit, but also mentally fit as well.
Yeah.
So that's where my love of the sport comes from, and that's why I do it. And so the next competition, big competition, is next September. I'm going back to Pontevedra, which I went, I think, last year, the year before, and I've qualified again for the GB team. So I'll be doing a lot of strength training over the winter, and then getting on my bike within the next, few weeks, and then just building up then, and then doing local competitions from January all the way to September to be fully fit for September.
No, that's great, mate. Congratulations on your making the team multiple times. Happy belated on your birthday. Sorry about the crash and yourself.
Yeah.
Listen to just a little bit of your experience with endurance. It's quite obvious that your drive is still pushing yourself through different challenges. Endurance being a sport that you love. We do in the military do a lot of work with, what's the word I'm looking for? The drive of being an athlete and how we can make that work going forward. I mean, the challenge with that, however, is we as people in the military do fitness because of the job. It's not necessarily because of what we want to do. But then when we do it as a part of a love of the sport, we get more enjoyment in it, right? But going forward in relation to the endurance stuff, it's great because people see the achievement, be it medals, the photographs taken, all that kind of stuff, you in your GB suit. They don't see the hard work, the early mornings, the sacrifice. So talk to us a little bit about the actual training aspect. What's that like?
So
the early mornings and so on.
it is. It's quite deep and dark at times. So, for example, this morning I did a bit of swimming. I was up this morning at 5:30, when my son's a swimmer, and so he's now at like a national level swimmer now. So we're up most mornings at 6:00 swimming, and then after work I've got to be training. So no matter how tired I am, I have got a training program. So I will have to do an hour on my bike. I'll have to do some sort of strength training, and you got to keep it up. Because you won't be able to make the team if you don't keep up, because there'll be somebody else who is training, who is putting the hours in. You have to have that discipline, and that discipline does come from the army, 100%, and that focus and that drive. Would I have that if I wasn't in the military? Who knows? But it was definitely, that resilience was definitely moulded from the British Army, making sure that I do get up and I do have that drive. And we have a sort of like a bit of a motto with my patients, and it's follow the plan and not the mood. Because the mood will lie to you. The mood will tell you, you're tired, you're not good enough. Just stay in bed. Just put them covers on. All right. But the plan, you work the plan. You get up. You just turn that switch and you just keep going and you just follow that plan, whatever the plan is. You write it down. So I have my plan wrote down on my phone. I have little sticky notes everywhere. I have it on my desktop at work, what I'm doing, and I just keep on following that plan. Sometimes you might slip a little bit. So, I don't know, you might go out and you might go to a party. You might not feel great the next day. So, as long as you're not doing that all the time, every weekend or whatever, then if you do have a little slip up, then you just think, well, okay, well, the plan is this. You keep moving forward with it and you keep building. Well, you've got to follow that plan and you've got to have discipline to do that. And sometimes it's quite difficult. To shape that discipline. But once you start seeing once you start seeing that structure and you start seeing the results, then it doesn't become easier. What it does, it just becomes habit. It takes around about 44 days things to become a habit, give or take. So you look at that and you think, right, okay, I'm going to keep going, and then it just becomes your lifestyle. So it's part of me now,
Yeah.
training. Without it, I don't know what I would do. But it's part of my life. It's what I love doing. It's what I do actually like doing it. Not all the time. There is parts of it where I think to myself, "Oh, blimey, this is a bit tough." But as soon as you finish, you feel better, you feel good, and then you think to yourself, "Right, okay, then I've achieved something." When you're representing Great Britain, which is, you know, what I mean, obviously we represented Great Britain in the British Army, but when you put the GB top on and
Yeah.
you are racing for Great Britain, and people are, you know what I mean, cheering you on, and you're running with people from USA or maybe from Germany or France or whoever it is, you then think, right, okay, then this is it. This is really good. And does it beat being in the army? And well, at a certain point, definitely does. It's like because you know what I mean. You're 100% enjoying it and loving it. But yeah, it's the discipline, the resilience. I think it's been instilled in me over the 27 years I've been in the army.
But definitely, I think military people, high performance athletes, have very similar drive, and I think it's because of the environment that they're operating in. You know, it gives them that routine, that
Yeah,
purpose, goals to achieve, and they drive through that consistently. But also, they need that routine to see the next day through.
yeah,
But it gives a balance between discipline and without punishment, though. And there has to be a balance of where how far you push yourself to ensure that you can train the next day, right?
yeah.
But do you think that consistency to build that routine, but also get to where it becomes performing, is that part of your motivation also?
Yeah, it is. I just think to myself now it's part of me. But being 50, I also have to look after my own. You know, what I mean, coming off my bike wasn't great. That was an accident. But I have to make sure that I don't get injured anyway. Moving forward, so I'm making sure I'm taking the right vitamins. Let's say different proteins and stuff. Just making sure that my muscle growth is good, because as you get older, you start to lose things. But yeah, people who are going to get into the sport or get into something that they like, they need to like it. If you don't like something, you're not going to stick at it. So you've got to choose something that you think, okay, then I'll give it a go. I'll try that. And if it's not a 7 out of 10, then you know what I mean, maybe not do it and choose something else. Choose things and say, right, okay, I'll give that a go. I'll give that a go. And if it doesn't stick, it doesn't stick. You move on. But it's giving things a go that gives you that drive.
Yeah. And that takes us on to our next topic, really. You know, you touched on it really early in the conversation about
Yeah,
the big swim, the
yeah,
mental battle, the massive journey between England and the Isle of Man. Who knew that was a trip?
yeah,
So let's talk about the swim, England to Isle of Man. You know, when you
yeah.
was out there, the experience of being in open water, no land in sight, just you, your mind, and the effort. Tell me about it.
Yeah, well, it's a big story. And it started, like I said, this was I've just left the army. I needed that. I needed something. It came about for me and my son swimming in the Isle of Man, and COVID hit. So I said, right, okay, I can plan this. So luckily, I went to the team at the college I was teaching at was a nautical college, and all the people there, they had all the simulators and everything. So I went to see the manager, guy called Ian, a great guy. And I said, Ian, I've got this plan. And he was like, what? And I said, do you reckon I could swim to the Isle of Man? And I said, do you reckon you could do it? Could you plan it? And he said, well, I'll tell you where you can go from to. So we had all the simulators, asked me how fast I could swim, looked at all the tides and currents. It was all quite technical. And he said, yeah, you could do it with the right navigation, the right boat, and the right team. And so I was like, right, okay, then. Do you want to be on the team? And he's like, yeah, okay, then well, let's do it. So he's got a boat. He's got a local dredger because he works for the RNLI. So I mustered a team together, and I planned it for about a year. And my training was intense. I was swimming for 4 hours, you know what I mean? I would say towards the end a day. In the first bit of the year, I maybe swimming 2 hours. And all the time I was land training, doing all my stretching, my nutrition and everything. So my training was intense. So I had this small team and we planned it out. I had two kayakers who were both veterans, one with PTSD, and the other one was a kayaker. So we set off from St. Bees, which was the shortest route from England to the Isle of Man, a place called Portmore we were landing. But we had to go on a certain date because all the people involved were professionals. They were teachers and also they worked for the RNLI and the Coast Guard. So we went, I can't remember what day it was, sometime in June. And it was like, right, we have to go on this date because this is the only time we've got off. So it was like, right, okay, we'll go. So we went down to St. Bees, and believe it or not, the weather was perfect for 2 days. It was like, right, this is unbelievable. We're going to do this. I got 14 miles into the swim and a storm hit, and it was horrendous. It was horrible. The boat was getting battered around. My 2 kayakers, I couldn't see them. And it was just horrendous. Basically, they called it off when the storm hit, and it took me half an hour to get me out of the water because they couldn't find me and see me. It was just, it was a nightmare. So anyway, they got me on the boat, and obviously at that point, then I knew that it had been called off, and it was, my dreams had shattered. But my mate Kev, who was one of my kayakers, who's a veteran with PTSD, he said, "I think we can do this," and I was like, "Kev, I know we can. We'll start planning it." So I said to Ian when we got back, "Do you fancy doing it again?" He was like, "You know, I mean, there's a lot of time and effort. My money's into the fuel and all the rest of it." And given the dues, he said, "We can't do it this next time." So I had to get a new team. So I called up Andy from Healthy Heroes, and I said, "Andy, can you get me a team and can you provide me with a boat?" And Andy went, "Leave it with me." As veterans and squaddies do, we pulled it off. We got a team together as vets. So all the people on the team were veterans, either suffering from PTSD, maybe drug and alcohol issues, the lot. It was like the Dirty Dozen. And we had so many meetings. We had a Facebook page called The Big Swim. And I won't say it was do or die mission, but the mentality was like, we are going to do this no matter what. And the only thing that beat us was the weather. So what we did, we was on standby for 12 weeks. And I got myself a skipper who was like the guy off Jaws, a guy called John Pratt, an amazing guy, sailed through the Irish Sea for the last 50 years. So we got him involved, and he was going to be the skipper of the boat. So he said, "What we're going to need to do is be on standby, all right? Because we'll only get a certain window. We can't have a date because you'll fail, because it'll be a nightmare. We have to go when the weather's good, high pressure, no wind, etc." So we was all on standby from May the 1st, and we're going to have it till whenever, end of August. 12 days in, we get a phone call. We're on WhatsApp, and John the skipper texts everyone, "We go tomorrow, brilliant weather, 4 days, you know what I mean? We'll meet at Kev's house." Well, it was sunny at that point, and everyone was at barbecues, and everyone was out drinking. So everyone was gutted. So anyway, so I'm sending texts to everyone. Everyone's like, "What's going on here? We didn't expect this to happen." Anyway, so we met at Kev's. Andy brought down a vehicle, and we went down to St. Bees and set off the next day. And it was perfect. It was like, I couldn't make it up. It was like swimming in a hot swimming pool. There was not a wave in sight.
Wow.
The skipper was like, "I have never seen this ever before in the Irish Sea." I'm not saying it was hard. It was horrific. It was bad. It was horrific. However, the weather was amazing. I had my nutrition was sorted. I had people on the boat who were amazing. And it was, the video footage. I was swimming with dolphins at one point, and swimming at night, which was a little bit scary. And there was only one point at night time where it was going dark, and the boat was about a K away, and I was with my kayaker Kev, and I just stopped, and it was like a mill pond. You couldn't hear anything. And at that point, I was like, "What's underneath me? What's going on?" And I couldn't say anything. And I just said to Kev, "What have I done?" And he was like, "Right, we knew this was going to happen." And I was like, hit the wall. And he reminded me while we were doing it, when we was raising money for Healthy Heroes, but raising money for mental health charities around the UK, which we raised over £20,000.
Wow.
And he started to name all the people who were going to be supporting. And it just gave me that drive, and it was like, "Come on, Ads, you can do this. This is why you're doing it." And it was that point in time when I was thinking, you know what? Yeah, I can do this. I was about 20 minutes just bobbing up and down, having a little bit of a tear, having a little bit of a flipping heck. "Oh, this is a night. What have I done? Nobody's ever done this before, and why am I thinking I can do it?" And this, that, and the other. And he's like, "You've just swam 20 miles. You've got another 10 miles, though, another 15 miles, you can do this." And it was that talk, without that talk from another veteran, talking about why we're doing it, why we're trying to achieve stuff, then, that was part of it. I probably wouldn't have happened, as well as the rest of the team as well. So yeah, it was an amazing trip, and it was something that had never been done before. Why? Because of all the things I've mentioned. It's just pretty horrific out there. There is somebody meant to be doing it next year. There's a girl doing it. So I think she's going to be, I don't know, she'll probably beat my time, but, and all the rest of it, which is great. I've unlocked the door for other people to do it, which is fantastic. Being the first will always be there, but unlocking the door for other people to do it, females, maybe kids under supervision, whatever it may be, relay races, whatever it may be. But the door's open. It can be done. I've done it. It's hard work, but the Irish Sea is a beast and it's not very nice at times. But yeah, second time of doing it, done it. We raised loads of money and just I love talking about it, and I do talks at schools, and I'm doing a talk at weekend, or actually remembrance talk. So I'm doing that for a local charity. So I'm always doing things. I went to the Isle of Man and did a talk with Simon Weston in the Isle of Man in summer, and was basically his warm up guy for his talk. So I talked about the swim to people out there. So there's loads of stuff going on with it, and yeah, I'm very proud to have achieved it. But also as well, without the team, it wouldn't have happened. Without the first team, they were amazing, and then the second team, we pulled it off. But the first team, you know what I mean, with the start of it and basically the recce, it could be done, and then
Yeah.
the second team, we pulled it off. Good.
Well, that's massive, mate. I mean, it's very powerful just listening to the story and the experience. You touched a little bit there about the fear of, and hitting the wall and just having the support of others. But more importantly, you touched a little bit about your own journey mentally.
Yeah.
You just touched a little bit on that and what was that like, dealing with those demons, trying to achieve a challenge, being on the brink of physical exhaustion, but, getting through that just through pure resilience and
Well,
grit.
yeah, and it was probably the army. It was probably my army training that I'd done that. I thought to myself, do you know what? I'm still breathing. I'm not dead. I'm still going. I just felt sorry for myself at that point in time, thinking to myself, right, okay then. And then the fear starts taking over. Believe it or not, the first scene in Jaws where that girl is swimming next to that boy, where it's all quiet, it was like that. And it
Yeah.
was that thing going through my mind, thinking, what is underneath me? What is going on? And I remember saying to Kev, what if I get eaten by a shark? And he was like, you know what I mean? There's no sharks out here. And,
Yeah.
and I said, how do you know? Nobody's ever done this before. And he's like, yeah, you're right. There's definitely no sharks out here, sort of thing. So it's that, and then it's just the doubt as well. And it's just having someone there to say, do you know what? You can do this. And it's that self doubt. When you do hit the wall, you have that self doubt, thinking, "Do you know what? I can't do that." And you just need that little bit of a boost because sometimes you can't do it yourself. And I couldn't. I could. I was like, if somebody said to me, "Right, quit," you know what I mean? I'd probably gone, "Right, okay, let's do it." But he was not. He was there as my right hand man, saying, "Do you know what? You can do this. Crack on." You know what I mean? Have a banana, get that down your neck. Come on, you can do it. And it's just the training. Without the training, you know what I mean? I spent 6 hours in the local boating lake at one point with me and Kev one day, just swimming around for 6 hours, literally in circles, and doing some sort of training. And we train out in the bay all the time. So I knew my training was good. You know what I mean? Physically, it was good, and I was stronger than the first swim as well. But it's just getting over that barrier. And it's that helping hand, a bit like therapy. I treat people on a daily basis, and it's that I'm doing that helping hand. I'm being that, let's say, that Kev did to me. I'm like, right, okay, we can do this. We'll do it together. And this is how we're going to do it over a period of weeks and a period of months. We're going to do these coping strategies. We're going to look at your anxiety, look at your depression. And it's that. And that's where therapy comes into it. He was basically my therapist at that moment in time. And that's why I love doing my job as a therapist, because you are that point where you can help people get back on track, back on where they want to go, and then they can move forward in life. But going back to the veterans, that's where the link's missing, because sometimes they won't reach out a little bit, and that's where the call could come in.
Well, you're grounding in physical exercise through serving,
Yeah.
and also continuing that into your veteran career as, endurance athlete was a grounding really to help you with support of others to punch through that mental barrier, that wall. But now you've completed such a ordeal, and every credit for you for doing that. And hopefully your time will stand strong as long as possible.
Yeah.
How did completing that challenge change you though? Not just physically, because you're an athlete anyway, but mentally. How do you see yourself now you've completed a massive challenge like that?
Yeah, I only said to my wife the other day, we went to the sea, and I looked out and I was like, blimey, what did you think when I said to you, do you know, I'm going to swim to the Isle of Man? She went, well, I thought you was a little bit crazy. I knew you could probably do it. But looking out to the sea now when I see it, I do look at it and think to myself, what was going through my mind? And it has changed me. It has changed me of what you can achieve. What you can achieve it, you know what I mean, in life, either physically, maybe academically, whatever it may be. You've just got to think, if you think you can do it, and you've got the right training, the right resources, then you got to go for it. And I had all that. But it was my army, probably. It's a lot of administration. You got to think, you got to plan it all out. Without probably my army training of planning planning of being a platoon sergeant, being a sergeant major, etc., of doing the checks. This is what I need. This is what went wrong the first time, and going through it systematically. I was on WhatsApp groups with my team. We had weekly meetings, we had monthly meetings. I was making sure that every, T was crossed, every dot was I'd, the lot. There was nothing that could go wrong I could go wrong. We planned it out on every level. We trained for every single aspect, from me having an heart attack to having a defib to making sure we've got everyone, the Coast Guard on call, the lot. It was all planned out. So doing a trip like that isn't an easy feat. The administration was 90%. The 10% was me training on my own and doing my own thing. But I look at it and think to myself, you can do, doing that, planning it myself with my team. You mean, for me, it's like, oh, where'd you stop? Where'd you go next? Doing something like that is a one-off, because there's not many things that are still up for grabs, if you will. But it does give you that boost to think, actually, yeah, I can do this. I can make that step and crack on, whatever it may be, either maybe a new job or with a family thing, whatever. But it does give you that drive.
Well, definitely. I think fulfillment, going through that experience, having that grounding from the military and all that administrative experience, but also understanding of what the task needed to happen, but also your belief in yourself through the physical endurance of it, help you give you that drive, but also build you through your confidence and purpose throughout. And that's probably a big testament to you, should I say, because you was able to overcome those barriers and them hurdles along the way. And that's why now you're a more rounded individual through that experience, I would thought. But for people who are listening, and you touched a little bit a second ago, for those who are listening who may be stuck, may not have that connection to exercise, may not have that purpose at the moment because they've either, in our case, left the military, or going in for a situation where mental health is overshadowing the self-confidence, the self-efficacy, their ability to do anything. What would you talk to them about? What would you advise those people listening today?
Well, if you are struggling, a lot of people will say is reach out. You've got to find your own. You've got to get up and go, right then. I need to find. You need to be truthful with yourself first of all. Do you need, do you really want help? Do you need help at this point in time? Because people will just go through whatever struggles they're going through to a point where it gets to a point where it's too late. So it's getting to that point where it's not too late, and that's quite difficult to do, because you think you're okay, and actually your people around you will see that you're not okay, but you actually think you are okay. So it's one of them where you're having a battle between yourself and what you can handle personally, mentally and physically, and then actually when you reach out for help and then it becomes too late. So this like no man's land of grey area. But people who are, let's say, of low mood or got low anxiety, who are missing something, it's just reaching out and thinking, well, what did I like beforehand? What did I like to do? And it's thinking, okay, then, well, I like to play football, but I can't because I've got an injury. Well, maybe watch football on TV or go to a football game. And trying to do something just to light that spark a little bit. Go for a walk. People always say, well, go for a walk and get a bit of fresh air, which is fine. Usually after an argument, but you're thinking about the argument, let's say. So I always tell my patients, you go for a mindfulness walk. You go for a walk and you do some grounding techniques. You look at buildings, use your senses, touch, smell, maybe taste, whatever it may be. You take your mind off what's bothering you, the issue it could be. It could be finances, it could be relationship. And you go for that mindfulness walk, and that'll be better for you. And then from there, you can then start thinking about small goals. So when you go for your walk, you think about the small goal, your short-term goal. What am I going to do in the next couple of weeks, and how am I going to achieve it? I'm going to change my diet, maybe. I'm going to change the way I'm eating. Small steps. Maybe get in touch with a friend. Start small. Don't look at it as Mount Everest. A lot of people do. It's like, I don't know, cleaning a house. I've got to clean the house and I can't. Start with one room. Start with moving the Hoover to a room. Start with doing, let's say, 4 minutes of hoovering, and that's it for the day. Start small on everything. All right. Don't go too big. You don't have to swim to the Isle of Man. You don't have to do that. It's the small things that get you on that ladder. And when you're on that ladder, that ladder you're on, your anxiety ladder, your depression, maybe your PTSD, wherever you are, you then start climbing it, and then you can start reaching out. But it's getting to that point, and that's the bit where you have maybe family, friends that can help you. But some people don't have that.
No, totally.
And that's where issues can arise. And
No, most definitely, yeah.
I keep harping on. It's the welfare
No,
check.
listen, mate, your insights are valuable to all listening, mate. I think, from my point of view, I think any form of movement is key to any going forward. the first step
Yeah.
of your own individual journey, your own individual recovery, no matter how little that movement may be at the beginning. Like
Yeah.
you said, small steps. So finally, Adam, if you don't mind saying, would you share what you think endurance taught you about being a human being? Not talking about the physical element now, but more about the mental side of it and what it's told you and about your future.
Well, it's basically it's made me the person I am today. To be fair, without the sport, doing something active, I look at it as being active, has kept myself healthy. It's kept myself focused, and it's kept myself driven. And if I wasn't, let's say if my injury when I fell off my bike the other month and I was injured where I couldn't do anything, then I would probably learn to focus on something else and maybe a different sport or a different technique or maybe some academic. But it's taught me that you can do a lot with your life and your brain can be taught certain things. Resilience it can definitely be molded.
Yeah.
I look at it as people always say, oh, resilience, you bounce back. No, resilience doesn't bounce. What it does, it breaks and it bends and it molds, and that's what resilience is. So my first time I tried to swim to the Isle of Man, you know what I mean? That's what it did. It broke, and I was like, taught me everything that I needed to do for my second challenge. So that's what resilience is. Resilience is all about bending, breaking, molding, and moving forward with it. And I think, you know, I mean, as you go on in life, I'm not saying that younger people are not resilient because they are. But if you're not resilient at a certain point, then you'll learn it as you go, and you'll make the mistakes, and then you'll start thinking, okay, then I won't do that again, and then I can do this better. And that's how resilience is.
Yeah.
It builds you up, and I'm still not there now. I'm failing on certain aspects of my life, but I'm learning, and then I keep moving forward with it, and that's what life's all about. Is keep moving forward, and when you get knocked down, you keep coming back up again, and you go, right, okay, then let's do that, and that's what resilience is. It's all about getting up and saying, right, okay, let's do this, maybe slightly different, and then going for it again.
No, that's great, mate. Thank you very much for sharing that. In relation to your experience with with endurance, have you got a way that you can share these experiences and this knowledge for people out there who may be listening?
Yeah, so I'm writing a book at the moment on resilience and my understanding of it, and it's interlinked with therapy as well. So the book's going to get released next year. So it's already in the process now with the publishers. It's just getting rubber stamped and checked over, and all my grammar redone and retyped, and sentences put in there, and capital letters where I've missed out and stuff. So it's all getting proofread, and it'll be out next year. So in there will be
Awesome.
the name is getting tweaked at the moment, so the name it's not ready yet. I mean, I've got about 3 or 4 different names for it, and we're still undecided on which direction we're going to go with it. But it will be out there, and it will be all about resilience, and it'll be all about my journey through the army, leaving the army to Civvy Street, the big swim, and then the things that I'm doing afterwards, which is obviously serving healthy heroes, looking at the welfare check, and then supporting veterans the best way I can. So that'll be out in your bookshops
No, that's
next
amazing,
year.
mate. Thank you. Listen, mate, once it comes out, maybe we can get back on and you can go through your book and
Yeah,
help
plug it. Definitely,
people understand.
I'll read you a few paragraphs from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
You're more than welcome,
Perfect.
mate. It'd be great to catch up on that. And Adam, thank you very much for giving up your time, mate. First of all, your honesty, your vulnerability, and your insight regarding endurance and mental health challenges, but also for your incredible service to the military. Because without saying, mate, anyone who serves in the military, as someone as esteemed as you, deserves every credit you get, mate. So today, endurance we talked about is the body. It's also about how we get over mental health challenges through persistence, purpose, and reflection. I'm Dr. James Alder, and this has been Trauma, Training and Transformation. Subscribe, share, and like. Leave a comment below. I'll get back to you on every comment that's left, because transformation starts the way we move, and the movement starts now.